What's something you saw you were definitely not supposed to see? When I started a new job, someone had left a bunch of HR files on the computer I was given. I opened one up, not sure what it was, and I got to see every employee's salary in the company, even the CEO. The next day, it was gone. My boss realized his mistake and logged into my system and deleted the files. It was a memorable experience. Something similar happened twice to me. I'm not in HR, and I grabbed a binder off the shelf that appeared to be empty that was going to be used for prepping an RFP, printed Excel spreadsheet of every employee's salary. 5 years later, my boss sends me a budget spreadsheet for the entire team, including my peers. I'm making my own adjustments for my team and realize there are hidden columns. Unhide. And that's when I asked for a raise. I used to work nights at a manufacturing plant. I went to the bathroom one night, picked out my favorite stall, and sat on the toilet to spend the next 10 minutes contemplating life. After a few minutes, a male janitor walked in and started cleaning the bathroom. Another minute later, another male janitor came in to help. They were talking to each other in Spanish and then started kissing near the sinks, not realizing anyone was in the bathroom. I just sat there silently for a while, not knowing what to do. After another minute or two of heavy kissing between the two, I decided to make a few noises so that they knew they weren't alone. My toilet seat creaked when I moved. They both stopped their romance session, looked at my stall, giggled, and ran out of the bathroom, leaving all of their cleaning stuff behind. I quickly cleaned up, flushed, and ran out. I actually never saw those same janitors again. I was actually about 8 or 9, and my parents were going to be out of town, so they had me and my siblings stay with a family from our church. Once we got to the house, which was really nice, by the way, they had one rule. You can play wherever you want, but the basement is off limits. Me, being the little bastard that I was, snuck down there first chance I got and was supremely disappointed to only find rows and rows of plants growing under lights. When I was 14, a friend hosted a birthday party at his house with all the parents invited. Needed to use the restroom, but the main one was occupied, so my friend told me I could use the one in his mom's bedroom. As I walked up to the door, I could hear somebody in there, so I decided to wait until whoever was in there finished. A good 10 minutes later, my friend's mom, who was hosting the party, and another good friend's stepfather walked out and seeing me standing there all confused. They asked what I was doing there, and I just said I was waiting to use the bathroom. Surprisingly, they played it cool and just said I can use it now and walked off. When I was 8 or so, my old nanny, babysitter, choose whichever you prefer, was showing me a video of her time with her boyfriend in Paris. After it blacks out for a few seconds, it then suddenly cuts to her lying on her hotel bed, completely naked, legs spread, telling her boyfriend to come get it. She jumped out of her seat, tried to cover my eyes, and told me to never tell anyone. I have now told potentially thousands of random strangers. Growing up with my little brother and single mom, we never had a lot, but she made sure we always had a safe and decent place to live and that there was always food on the table. She never really ate much. I remember dinners of baked chicken, beef stew, salmon. It was a lot cheaper a million years ago. Good food, nothing terribly extravagant, but always nutritious. Yet she barely ever ate. When I was 10, I saw her eating PB&J on crackers in her room after dinner. That's when I realized that there was never enough food for all three of us. She would cook what she had for my brother and I, and she would eat the bare minimum, always out of sight, so that my brother and I wouldn't worry about the actual level of poverty we were at. I never asked for another material thing from her after that night. When I was in college, I worked at an arcade mini-golf joint that seemed to give zero fucks about actually making money, but was never in any kind of financial trouble. When I got hired, the owner literally said, "I pay minimum wage, and I expect to get minimum work for it." I worked the front counter. and collected money for the mini golf and sold cups of coins. Or he could use just the coin changer. The till was completely busted and would be off by $50 or more in either direction, no matter what you did. I realized very quickly that I could just pretend to ring up golf fees and cups of tokens and pocket the cash. So I'd pocket $30 or $40 every shift, and nobody seemed to give a shit. One of the assistant managers let me take a break 20 minutes after I had taken a break because some of my friends shown up and wanted to smoke a bowl with me. He was like, "That's totally more important than your job." It was awesome. Then one day I walk into the owner's office while his secretary was recording figures in the ledger. I can read upside down pretty well, and it was obvious that the figures she was recording had fuck all to do with the business we were doing. We sold maybe $60 of golf fees a night, and maybe $100 in coin cups, but she was recording $600 and $1,000 for each. I commented on the discrepancy and quipped about how someone would think that we were in the laundry business, and she got really squirrely and told me to leave the office. The next day, the owner called me into his office, and we had a very circumspect conversation about how much I was enjoying working there and enjoying the perks of the job. And I very much got the sense that he was trying to decide if I was going to tell anyone or anything. Apparently, he decided I wasn't, and I wasn't, so I kept working there. About a year later, the owner was arrested for money laundering and we all got fired. Still, the best job I ever had. The mob is an A-plus employer. Would work in a fake business again. I found my dad's will. I was on his computer while he was at work. Actually, I'm searching for his porn. And ended up finding a strangely titled Word document. At first, it didn't seem like a big deal. It contained a note to each of his kids. It wasn't until I got to the last one, my youngest brother, that I realized it wasn't just a will. The start of the line read something along the lines of, "If anything is going to make me change my mind now, it's writing this part." I realized that I had found my dad's suicide note. I was about 14 or 15 at the time, and I had no idea how to go about talking to him about it. I decided just to keep it to myself. He started buying us gifts and stuff, and I would get really scared, and I just kept it to myself. I remember one day on the weekend, I woke up in my bed to a loud bang coming from my dad's room. I laid there in bed for probably half an hour, frozen. Once I worked up the strength, I went to his room and opened the door. He wasn't in the bedroom. I was so confused until I saw the bedroom window was open. What had happened is that there was a gust, and the wind had slammed the door shut, but my paranoid brain had heard a gunshot. After that, I was laughing hysterically and don't have much memory of the day past that. Shortly after this incident, my dad had returned most of the gifts he bought us kids, and I slowly started to believe that he'd changed his mind. I never confronted him about it until last year, about 14 years or so later, but I never fully accepted that he was okay now. I called him distraught about a separate matter, and he started talking to me about depression. He told me on his own about how he considered taking his life, and went into detail about it, and all I could do was cry and tell him, "I know." We talked a lot longer after that, and we were finally able to put it to rest.